Okay, here we are. Last week of this series of Community Fit, but don't worry, we're going to take a hiatus over the winter and we'll be back in January with more classes for you. In the meantime, don't forget that you can go to YouTube and see a bunch of classes, the last two series, and then at some point, these classes will be up there. You've also been given so many tools, tips, suggestions, and ideas throughout these 6 weeks. And that's what this particular class is going to be on. We are in integration week. And for me, integration week is nothing necessarily new, but how do we take and make sense out of everything we've covered so far? And how do we begin to integrate that into our life so that we don't rely on the tools exclusively, but we understand the meaning behind the tools and where and how they fit in so that they become habits and behavior shifters and a new way of experiencing life itself. So that is where we're going to go today. I'm hoping, just checking some chat stuff, you're going to see me look down a lot today because I'd really like, right now we have 26 people. There's 3 of us on here. So we've got about between 20 and 25 people actually on here. So I'm hoping that we get some feedback today and that this becomes a more collaborative experience this week because I'm actually done giving you tools. I'm like, that's what you got for this series. It's not the totality of everything, but that's what we got. So now we need together to make sense out of everything you've learned so far and kind of revisit and play with and expand on and figure out where to plug and play all of these things. So the first question is, we already have one answer, is what have you found meaningful and resourceful this series? Kathy has responded, the idea that I need to reset my body through various ways to make my stress reaction better. Great, thank you for that, Kathy. So anyone else who wants to drop something into the chat about what have you found meaningful and resourceful? Meaning, when I say that, what has struck you as an aha? What has landed deeply with you? What have you been practicing? And that sort of then goes into the resourceful thing. What have you found available to you? Because there's a distinction between going, oh yeah, there's that thing we did in class that I really loved, but what was it again? How do I breathe? What is the thing that I do? That's not resourceful. Resourceful is, yep, got it. This is in my toolbox. I can pull it out when I need it, and it becomes a resource. That fidgeting is not a bad thing. Thank you, Monica. Stress relief, sigh, and 5 points to look. Perfect. Great. Thank you all. Keep it coming. I want to just revisit for a moment the concept of stress or nervous system disruption, using tools consistently when I know I need. Yes, when I know and need to is the best tool. Perfect. Stress, nervous system disruption. Just to revisit that, because we're going to play a little bit today with some of this stuff. And I want to sort of contextualize why I framed this series of stress reset in the way that I have. So let's start at the beginning again. Now that we've covered some stuff, hopefully what we covered week number 1 in foundations makes more sense now. Stress is nervous system disruption. It is nervous system arousal. It is your sympathetic portion of your autonomic nervous system, right? So however you need to think of it, it's a disruption, it's an arousal, it's a reflex. It is literally something that is going on in your nervous system, and there's a point to it. It keeps you surviving. It keeps you safe. So my infinitely wise body is in an environment at any given time, and it hears something, it sees something, it senses something, it perceives something, and there is a physiological response in my body, and we would call it a bottom-up process, meaning my body, my nervous system does something. It arouses, it is disrupted, it is triggered in some way, and it feels different. It releases chemicals. There is some adrenaline, there's some norepinephrine. My heart rate increases, my breathing changes, my muscles tense a little bit. I am preparing to fight, flight, freeze, in some way respond to a threat. and my body goes into activation. That's the sympathetic nervous system. That's the bottom-up process of it. Then, as that is happening, we have what's called a top-down process. My body is releasing chemicals, it's feeling some way, there's a heart rate thing that is going on, my digestion changes. Your body literally is going through a physiologic change unconsciously in the moment. And your brain then receives that information via the vagus nerve and some other channels, and it has to sense make out of what is happening. Now, most of us know that we are unaware more often than not. We experience that all the time. You don't realize you have clothing on. You're not thinking about sitting in the chair. You are driving home and all of a sudden you're like, where am I? I don't know how I got home. I just drove home. So we are on autopilot a lot. So my body senses something, my brain has to come down and make sense out of that sensation. And if we are unaware, if we don't have any access or any curiosity or any previous experience with discerning, contextualizing, paying attention to what your body feels like when it's aroused, the body goes, uh-oh, problem, and now we're stressed out. Stress reflex, when it meets the brain, spikes that stress fever. And often we let it get out of control, and then all of a sudden you're like in your bedroom crying because you're so stressed out, or however it is that you express and experience stress. So it is a physiological thing as much as it is a mental thing, and the two of them come together to create what we call anxiety, trauma, stress, nervous system. Well, not nervous system disruption, that's what's happening. So it's colloquial and it's multi-layered, right? What case study after case study has shown that we can shift our relationship to stress, to this nervous system disruption, by feeling more resourced, which is what we've been covering a lot this series. Here's this tapping thing. Here's this breathing thing. If you hold your tension and stress up top, here are things to do. If you hold it down in the lower body, here are things to do. Engaging eyesight, engaging sound, doing this breathing technique versus that breathing technique. Those are tools to be resourced. Then what modern science is showing is that we need to actually, if you are someone who finds yourself persistently stressed, which is pretty much all of us right now, if you practice being stressed, if you practice stressing yourself out, you will actually tolerate and be better at stress. So that's where we're going right now. But I couldn't give that to you week number one, because most of us would go into hyper arousal, anxiety, panicky, because we don't know this thing that we're feeling. And once we're up in that high stress fever, if we don't have tools to take ourselves down in the moment, it becomes a problem. Because what science is showing, that choosing to explicitly disrupt or shift your state is the thing that will help you metabolize and process the stress reflex. Meaning, I'm feeling stressed, I notice it, I am now choosing to do the calming thing, so therefore it happens. It is the act of the choice. It is the ability to pay attention. It is not the tool. It is not the breathing exercise necessarily. It's not the fidgeting. That's what I was saying at the beginning of all of this. I can't give you a tool that will make it better or fix it, because they don't exist. There are plenty of tools out there to make you feel better that you can choose from. It's like a library of spices as you're cooking. Oh, I need a little more of this, a little more of this, a little more of this. So today we're going to revisit some stuff. We're going to practice. I'm going to show you a simple practice to practice calming down, parasympathetic nervous system, settling, resetting. And I'm going to show you a practice on how to ramp yourself up, get yourself excited, stressed, nervous system aroused. And my suggestion is, as we go forward, if you are someone who does not suffer from panic attacks, if you are someone who would not consider yourself overly anxious, if you feel well-resourced, which hopefully by now you do, you can practice this thing. If you have that panic attack, that anxiety thing, practice the relaxing thing for a while. Get even more resources. But I'm hoping we can bridge over here and practice how to excite and become aroused, because at the beginning of all of this, I said, we're not just going to practice settling down. I want to get us, how do we become aroused? How do we, nervous system aroused? How do we become unsettled? How do we ramp ourselves up? Because all of that is alertness. If I want to deliver an impactful speech, I don't necessarily want to be parasympathetic, relaxed nervous system. I want a little bit of arousal. If I'm going to go play, I want a little bit of arousal. If I want to be socially engaged, pro-social, I need a little bit of arousal. I can't be zenned out, right? So having access to those feels very, very important and is the structure for today's session. So I needed to have that little talk at the beginning, that sort of the aquarium we're going to be swimming through today. We're going to revisit some of these practices, and then we're going to go into how to ramp ourselves up and how to relax ourselves back down, knowing that it will then be your choice, your responsibility, because you now have the ability to choose. When you need to take a break and you need some of these other resources, they're available to you. It's no longer my job to do that. I've led you to water, and now you got to drink. So here we go. I'm going to revisit some tools, some stuff that we'll be playing with. Let's start off with breathing. So breathing, we're going to start off with my personal favorite, physiological sigh. It's the double inhale, single exhale. Ideally, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. We're going to do a total of, we're going to do 3, because we're going to actually revisit physiological sigh later on. So inhale, inhale, exhale. 2 more. One more. Then you could, if you like that, that's something to remember, that's a tool. Or you could do the choo-choo breath that we played with last week. Or taco breath. Or just a slow inhale, thoughtful exhalation. So many different breathing choice options. I want you to do 3 more of whatever one your favorite one is. Inhale, exhale. Again. And then the last one. Good. Then we have some sensation stuff, or sensory organ input that we can play with. We can go into our orientation practice, which is simply just kind of looking around the room. Intaking objectively things that are in the room: plant, door, dog, Pilates equipment, window, another plant, just naming things that are in the room. You could go into the practice we did last week of just finding 3 things, and they could be 3 things that bring you joy in the room. And just being with that for a moment. You can make a game out of it and say, I'm not going to move any bones, and just how much stuff can I see in the room if I'm refusant of moving any bones. I could do a sweeping with the eyes, left and right. That sweeping of the eyes is actually what a really profound trauma and stress modality called EMDR is actually based on. And as your eyes move, it actually inhibits the fear reflex from kicking in, which is sort of one of the triggers of stress. So it can be orientation, it can just be eye movement, or you can spot and anchor into things that bring you joy. If you're not a visual person, you can do it auditorily. You can just listen for the sounds in the room. What sounds are in the room that you've been ignoring? For me, there's like a gentle hum of air. There's car noise. I hear the dog, my self-talk, the echo. What things are in the room right now, or anchor into kinesthetically what you're feeling. What's the kinetic experience of sitting in the chair right now, feeling yourself breathe, feeling the clothing on your own body. Sometimes the sensory stuff is more profound or more meaningful than the breathing stuff for some body. So that would be something to note and to practice. Then we have some therapeutic touch. I can bring my hands together, I can get them warm. I can place them on the front of the throat or the jaw. If it feels good, they can be on the chest or the belly. You could go into some of my stroking or get a little more formal and go into the havening stuff. Just, oh, little arm touch, a little soft face touch or hand touch. Just what would feel like a therapeutic touch right now, a healing touch to do, something that feels good. You could instead go into some of the tapping, butterfly wings. Just having that interpersonal conversation with your body that, oh, you are seen, you are listened to, and you are respected. And the nervous system goes, oh, thank you. I've been waiting for that. From there, we can go into a little bit of bigger. We're going to go big to small on this one. Big motion, so we can do the shaking. Shake, 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 all over. We can do the contract, release. It can just be in your hands, your shoulders, it can be in your legs. You can do it until you shake. It's a little bit of that therapeutic tremor. Or if it feels better for your body, or it feels like the thing your body wants in the moment, the thing that makes you, and here is, I get this question a lot. How do I know what my body wants? Well, some people are just going to kind of have an intuition about it, right? Like they've spent enough time in conversation with their body to go, oh, this is the thing that I should do next, which comes with practice, 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 practice. It's like playing an instrument or playing a sport or cooking something well or knitting or sewing, any of those things, right? It's like, oh, there's some practice in order to be able to understand and comprehend the nuance of what the next right choice is. Beyond that, what I can tell you is what feels satiating, what feels good, and or what allows you to be aware of the outside world when you want to, and allows you to be aware on the inside world when you want to. Meaning, can I do what's called exteroception, that orientation, that listening in a very calm way without being like fidgety, oh, what's that? What's that, right? And also on demand, by choice, go, what am I sensing inside? Can I be aware of what it feels like to sit in the chair? Can I be aware of what my breathing feels like? If I said, what does your right knee feel like right now? Inside. What does the roof of your mouth feel like right now? If you are unable to figure out or to be with the outside world in a relaxed, calm, alert way, and the inside, there's a disruption. So what practices lead you down the path of being more able to pay attention to the outside and the inside world on demand? So it's a try it, it's try the practice, right? That's the same thing. Take an inventory, what's going on? What do I notice? Try the practice, take another inventory. Try another practice, take another inventory. It's work. It's a journey, it's an exploration. So some of us just kind of intuitively know because we've been practicing it, and otherwise it's, oh, I'm gonna try this thing. So I've got a little shaky thing, I've got a contract release thing, it can be big or small, or we can go more nuanced. We can do the little nose circle. Can I just sense that in my neck? And as I sense that in my neck, can I also notice that my perception of my horizon is changing, right? It's like a circle thing, like my eyes shouldn't be fixed on something. That's hypervigilant. It's I'm noticing that the world is moving around me. I can do it with my shoulder, just like a little bit of, just like a little stirring within the joints. I can go to some of that play stuff and just seaweed spine or a little pelvic movement, a little undulation through the spine, right? Or I can go into my vocalizations. Nice deep inhale, sigh. Hum. So many choices. We've covered a lot more, but I just wanted to kind of refresh you so that as we continue to play, if you find yourself through these next two practices at a destination you do not prefer, meaning you feel too relaxed, too settled, and you've got work to do, you can do some of these to get more embodied and more alert. You can do the shaking practice to kind of get yourself ramped up. Or if you choose to go into the hyper arousal exercise, the purposefully stressing yourself out exercise, and you get too ramped up and you're like, now I'm feeling panicky. Discern right now. If you start to feel too panicky, are you going to do breathing? Are you going to do a touch thing? Are you going to do a micro movement, a big movement? What is going to be the resource you draw upon as we explore purposefully playing with our nervous system, right? So I think we are going to do, because it's the middle of the day, we're going to do the calming exercise first. And that way, if you're like, I just want to stay calm, great. You do that. You just put me on mute for the hyperarousal. Or if you want to try the other stuff, we can do that. So here we go. Research has shown if you practice for 5 minutes a day, more isn't more. More isn't more. 5 minutes of practicing the relaxation, you will consistently be more relaxed, right? Because it's anchored. You know what the sensation of down-regulated nervous system feels like. Additionally, if you practice being hyper-aroused, stressed out, 5 minutes a day, more isn't more. In fact, it's counterproductive. If you practice it for 5 minutes a day for 2 weeks, stressing yourself out purposely, 5 minutes a day for 2 weeks, persistent chronic stress begins to diminish, trauma begins to diminish, and your nervous system recontextualizes its relationship to stress, meaning you can practice relaxing or getting yourself stressed out for 2 weeks and you end up at the same place, better able to reset your stress. However, one of them says, I'm relaxed all the time. The other one creates a relationship with what it feels like to be alert. So science is kind of pushing us into practicing being stressed, which we'll talk about in a moment. So the first one, practicing down-regulating or resetting our stress. If you have questions, go ahead and pop it in. In fact, go ahead and pop it in right now. What are your resources? What are your go-to resources that we've practiced so far in this session or from the totality of the sessions? I'll wait. Favorite resources. Breathing strategies. Great. Well, that's where we're going now. Breathing strategies. The face massage and tapping. Nice. I love that one too. Breathing and TRE. TRE is great. Double breathing. Perfect. That physiological sigh. Super good. Okay, so that's where we're going right now. Physiological sigh, double breathing. 5 minutes, we're gonna go for 3 minutes just for the sake of time. And my suggestion is to increase it to 5 minutes. We've been practicing physiological sigh for 3 or 5 repetitions. We're now gonna go for 2.5, 3 minutes. So I'm gonna time it. In fact, here we go. Physiological sigh starting now. Take an inventory. Notice what you notice. Then double inhale, inhale, inhale. Exhale through the mouth. Now, you don't need to do a bunch. We're going for duration. So when you feel ready to breathe again, double inhale. More isn't more. When you feel ready, double inhale, exhale. Keep going. It's all you have to do for the next minute or so. Double inhale, exhale. Double inhale, exhale. Thirty more seconds. Last 15 seconds. Double inhale, exhale. And relax. Take a little inventory. What do you notice? What was your experience with that? If you want to drop something in the chat, feel free to do that. But that is a nervous system calming exercise, right? It's the physiological side, plays with CO2, carbon dioxide, and oxygen levels in the body. Very settling, good. So that is one of the options, right? And how simple of a meditation for people who aren't into meditations, right? It's not a, oh, I've got to listen to my breath or a mantra or anything. It's a neuroscience-based way of adjusting your nervous system, physiological side. That's over here. Now, we've got the opposite to play with. This one is going to be a rapid cyclical breathing exercise, better known as hyperventilation. So we are going to stress ourselves out from a nervous system perspective. We are going to hyper arouse our nervous system by breathing a lot and heavy. So here's what it's going to sound like. Right? Your job, every 30 breaths or so, let out an exhale, hold your breath for a pause, and then go back into it. We're going to do it for maybe a minute or two. Again, if you're going to do this for 2 weeks to get the benefits, 5 minutes, not more. So here we go. Again, if you have panic attacks, if you suffer from that or hyper anxiety or something, stick with the physiological side. Feel the resource there. For the rest of us, let's go here. Again, take a nice deep inhale to prepare. Exhale. Here we go. Hold. Let all the air out. Repeat. Hold. Exhale. Settle and notice. Notice how different or similar you feel from spending that time with physiological side versus cyclical rapid breathing or hyperventilation. One is the natural breath we automatically do to relax ourselves or to reset CO2 and O2 levels. The other one is what we would do if we were running away from a tiger, right? Or trapped in a room and hyperventilating or stressed in some way. So you don't need to have an external stressor to practice nervous system stress. You can do the cyclical breathing thing. You could also think of a stressful event. You could do a cold plunge or a cold shower for 5 minutes. You could run on a treadmill as fast as you can for 5 minutes, or out in the world as fast as you can. You can do hard exercise, and it would do this resetting of the stress reflex. Remember, 5 minutes a day for 2 weeks. You are now very resourced in tools, which allows you to take more chances and opportunities to play with your nervous system, which is the essence of being able to reset your stress reflex and settle your stress fever. So I will be back on Friday for Stress Reset for our last of this series. And I'm hoping you come with questions and you come with experiences and things to share. In the meantime, I'll be around today to answer any questions about today's. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, James. I was trying to participate, but I'm having major allergies again, and I guess Raymond is too. And I don't understand. It's so cold. I never have allergies in December.
I don't know if you could hear me as I was going through it. It was just like congested nose, congested nose, congested nose. Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's actually I haven't slept the last 2 nights because of it, so I'm just I'm just kind of going with it. Whatever,
right.
Hopefully it'll go away soon. But thank you everybody for joining us. I did post the link to our previous 2 series of CommunityFIT. So we've got 48 different classes there that you can access. I'm hoping that we'll have this series posted by the end of this month, but it's just going to depend on people taking time off in our marketing department. So hopefully, if not by the end of the month, beginning of the year there. And then I also put in a link to a video that I just did and they posted. It's called My Wah Wellness. And it's actually me doing a cooking demo, how to make a healthy zucchini bread. So I thought if you wanted to make a healthy zucchini bread for the holidays, there's a video for you up there. Other than that, of course, you can always reach James and his email, james@jamescrater.com. My kitty is trying to get in the shot here.
We have so much dog love here. It's nice to see a cat.
Yeah, this is Cinnamon Kitty, although my background's kind of, yeah, he's a good kitty. He was my rescue. Anyhow, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow for Back to Move Lab and then Stress Reset. And then we'll take a little break. All right. Cool. Thanks, James. Thanks, Raymond.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Hope everybody feels better.